See You Space Cowboy, The Romance of Affliction album review. Let's chat about it. Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here to chat about this latest from See You Space Cowboy. They are a San Diego-based hardcore, metalcore, Screamo act. They've been at it for a few years now, and for a while, I was actually super into these guys and gals. Their Songs for the Firing Squad compilation completely caught me off guard. While nothing genuinely groundbreaking in the worlds of metalcore, screamo, post-hardcore, hardcore, grindcore, or anything that it touched down on, even the art punk that they touched down on here, it gave me hope for their future. It reminded me of what I loved about a lot of these genres when I was a teenager. I also did enjoy their full-length follow-up, the correlation between entrance and exit wounds. I don't feel like this album was as much of a punch in the gut as their first compilation, but it showed the band branching out a bit, trying some new genres on for size, getting a little experimental in parts. So yeah, I've been on the, more positive side of See You Space Cowboy for a while now. They also reference the iconic lines from one of my all-time faves, Cowboy Bebop, in their own name. They've had a lot of great things going for them lately. But then I hear the singles leading up to this new album, The Romance of Affliction, and I have been so disappointed by them. Let's chat about this thing. Now, there is a lot of good on this album. As a matter of fact, when this album is good, it's what See You Space Cowboy does best. Taking these genres like Screamo and grindcore and hardcore and post-hardcore and everything else that they've touched down on and make it a little fresh sounding. Life as a Soap Opera 26 years running, featuring Keith Buckley, is a really fantastic start. It's really promising. I love some of these breakdowns, just how ballistic this track goes. There's also just a zaniness to it, like it is so insanely over the top at points that I can't help but smile. And being a huge Every Time I Die fan in my teen years, I just loved hearing Keith Buckley here. I think he actually has some great chemistry with See You Space Cowboy. As a matter of fact, a lot of this track reminds me of early Every Time I Die, early Daughters, even some early Blood Brothers work. No mistake, this track is pummeling and a great intro. The end to a brief moment of lasting intimacy is also really good. Now, spoiler alert, there is some pretty god-awful material on this album, shockingly so even. But this is a great middle-of-the-road ground for See You Space Cowboy because it has the gritty moments, it has the really intense breakdowns, but it has some decent melodic moments as well. But it never gets too cheesy and it never gets hard to swallow. I don't know, this kind of reminds me of some really good, decent Senses Fail. This is fine. I also really love In My Faded Reflection in Your Eyes. Overall, this is probably the most direct track here, and that's not an insult. Like, it's amazing what See You Space Cowboy can do when they just get rid of some of the fluff. I just love the explosive nature of this track. It just feels like it's going to go down in flames at any moment, but it's going to take you down with it. There's nothing overperformed, there's nothing cheesy, it's that simple. Anything to Take Me Anywhere But Here is also really fantastic. Like, late in the album, this is like music to my ears. The legitimate tension here, the way this track just attacks from all angles, it is raw and it is dangerous sounding. Like, this is such a breath of fresh air, but it's also coming really late in the album. I don't know, there's just such a spontaneity to this track, and it ends up in this weird semi-tropical breakdown that's almost reminiscent of, like, I don't know, some Mr. Bungle. More of this would have been very appreciated. And when it comes to the Peace and Delusion, I don't give a shit. I don't care if this is a post-hardcore album, a Screamo album. I don't care what kind of album I'm listening to is. This is a gorgeous interlude. I mean, it's damn near classical. But, like, could you imagine if this was a much more conceptual album that had some real meat to it? This would make things a whole lot more emotional. It already does just that. It's nice. Even if it sounds like it should have soundtracked, like, I don't know, an exploratory cutscene in Kingdom Hearts 3. And this album's title track, The Romance of Affliction, featuring If I Die First, is so good as a finale. I really wish we heard more of this. This shows See You Space Cowboy really pushing towards the future for 5 minutes, really coming up with some interesting, forward-thinking, progressive ideas, and not ideas that were stale 10 years ago. It's not the most explosive track here, it's actually one of the slowest ones, but it's really interesting just because of how different it is. The tension here alone, my god. It's frustrating because, like I said, we're about to get to it, but there's a lot of Some of the worst rock music I've heard all year on this album. Then we have this as a finale, giving me the chills. I wish we heard more of this. Because let me tell you, when this album is bad, it is shockingly bad. Misinterpreting Constellations, I have not been into this at all since it first dropped. This ain't it, fam. Instantly, the chugging riff that is just like, oh, it's the most grating thing in the world. Between that and the obnoxious vocals, this sucks. This is honestly the reason that I don't flock to much metalcore anymore. How is this so basic? What even is this? What's going on? I mean, the band's personality here completely out the window. Hilariously so. And why is this so cheesy and melodic? It's so bad. This sung hook. Ugh. What happened to the genuine danger behind this band? And at first, I was not that critical of Sharpen What You Can featuring Shaolin G, but it has like plummeted in my rankings here. It has lessened on me so much. And you know, it's probably the most technical sounding track here. There are some moments on here that this sounds like some early Dillinger Escape Plan. But I don't know. Some of these lines here, I cannot help but laugh at them. And with arms that bind and lips that lock, I don't have anything to say about this track, good or bad. It's just so middle of the pack in these genres and has zero personality. And yeah, you know what? There are a couple of moments here, like some of those guitar lines that are pretty sharp, but overall, this is so faceless. And losing sight of the exit, okay, pause. Why does this sound like a royalty-free version of Killswitch Engage's The End of Heartache? This is pretty bad. Intersecting storylines of the same tragedy featuring Aaron Gillespie is not that good either. As a matter of fact, it turns my stomach. This is pretty bad. Like, I genuinely thought this overly bland, overly produced metal and screamo hybrid of metalcore was just out the window. The performances aren't interesting. The songwriting is just bleh. The instrumentals dime a dozen. Where's the exit here? And Ouroboros says an overused metaphor wastes no time, and I mean just wastes no time in really affecting my stomach once again. From the first bar, this makes me cringe so hard. I honestly feel like this is taking modern metalcore and modern screamo and making it take a back step. It's just so boring. 2 years ago, this band was ready to push screamo and post-hardcore and grindcore into the future. Now it kind of sounds like they might make the Kevin Says stage of Warped Tour. And melodrama between two entirely bored individuals is not saving anybody late in the album. I don't know. Maybe this isn't the worst sin committed here, but like just this overly dramatic, super melodic metalcore that I thought went out of style 5 years ago, one track after another. It's a gut punch. This is so bad that when I first heard this before the album came out, I almost took this off my calendar completely. Send help. So yeah, there's a handful of tracks on here that remind you of what SeeYouSpaceCowboy can do, that reminds you just how forward-thinking and a fresh face they are in screamo and metalcore and the other genres that they touch down upon. That's fine. It's the over-dramatic, overproduced, poorly performed, and way, way, way too melodic rest of this album that is unbearable. Some of the most cringeworthy rock music of any genre that I've heard all year. This is just, it's not for me. You may still really love this sound from SeeYouSpaceCowboy, but this album is a real disappointment for me. I'm feeling a light 5 on this album. Let me know what you guys think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, guys.